I picked up an iSonic ultrasonic cleaner for my records about 3.5 years ago. It has served me well in that time, and about 3 weeks ago, well, the motor died on it. Okay, and I was looking to replace the motor. You can find a motor for the old housing on Amazon for about $50, or you can get a whole new motor and housing from iSonic for about $70. But as I looked farther into it, they have a Pro kit, an upgrade kit that I decided to go with, that has a 2-speed motor that's 10 RPM. This original motor works at 5 RPM, but also has a high-speed option for drying. So I thought I'd give that a try. It also has a in-tank water filter that I thought might be nice. I have been using a sort of homemade water filter, and we have that down here where I keep a 2-gallon bucket, and I jury-rigged a water filter from a shower filter, and that whole contraption cost just under $50. But I decided to upgrade that with their power filter, which will drain the water into a tank on the ground and then pump it back in when you're ready to do more records. It has an inline filter as well, so that it will clean the water and hopefully clean it better than my filter did, although I seemed happy with it for the 3.5 years. Now, in that period, the thing has served me well. I've done about 4,000 records with it in that time, and we're going to go through the upgrades, look at the differences that the new kit has, and we'll see how the differences look. The CS 6.1 Pro kit basically replaces everything except for the tank. It has new dividers, a new end cap, a double-ended power supply so that the pump will work down below, has the water filter, a shield for the high-speed drying, a new motor that has the 2 speeds, and a new set of brackets. Now, we got the thing put together. As you can see, we now have a shroud that's there for when it's running at high speed drying, and we can take that off. It's a little confusing putting it together. The brackets are simple enough, but the description was not great, but finally figured it out. The new motor has a bearing on it, so that it's now a roller bearing, ball bearing, that sits on the stubs. We have our filter in the tank, and both of these hook up to the same power supply with a wire adapter. They give a centering bracket now, so you can make sure your motor is centered in the unit, and that's pretty much the guts of it. Now, for the records, we have new spacers. You only need 1 spacer between LPs, and they have the rubber gasket on the edge, so we can now fit 10 records into a narrower area than we could before, so it's also would appear to be less weight on the motor. So it seems to be they made some changes to have this put less stress on the motor. Next, we'll hook up the pump and see if the whole thing works. And if you look closely at the base of the motor, or I should say on the sides on the mounting plate, you will see a set screw on either side so that when the motor is in place, it will stay in place. My guess is that is to give stability if you're using the machine for drying at high speed. So you can also see the bearing at the motor end, and that should save a lot of wear and tear on the motor. So now we're going to do a run through of a set of records. We're going to start by pumping the water back into the ultrasonic cleaner. We're looking at the reservoir right now. Just as an addition, I did order a second power supply because the reach to plug in the pump where the motor plugs in was a bit on the far side, and the wiring was going to get a little too tight. So we're going to give that a try. So our valve is open, and we simply hit the switch on the pump. Okay, so as the water comes back into the tank, it's my understanding it is on this return trip that the water is filtered, not on the removal from the tank. The tank fills relatively quickly. It takes about 1.5 to 2 minutes. I'll turn on the water filter once the water gets above it and load the records. So rather than make you wait, we'll be back. I have the records loaded. We only have 8 records, so we have a spacer in there and it's tied down. The in-tank filter is going, and we'll get set to lower the records and crank it up. Okay, so our bearings are resting on the proper spot. I'm tightening down the set screws back here. Turn this on. Okay, so now I'll plug it in, or now that it's plugged in, I will turn it on. Okay, it's set, it's turning. We're now spinning at 10 RPM, and we'll hit the degas. And that's about the same as the other, but as you can see, it takes up a lot less space than the older system, or the original system, not the Pro. Rather than make you wait, I turned it off. The degas is done. Now we'll set it up to do its cleaning. And we'll be back in 15 minutes and start the spin. Our session is complete as far as the cleaning goes, and we can now drain the tank by hitting the button on the pump station in the other direction. It will drain out. I am going to disconnect the in-tank filter so it doesn't have to pump air. We can now put the shroud on. And as soon as the water drains, we will put it into high gear. And it will take about 10 minutes for it to dry, and the video will be done prior to finishing the drying. Okay, the pump's finished emptying the tank, and we can go into high speed. The shroud's on. And it should take about 10 minutes for the records to dry. Now, when it was just about empty, I forgot it does stop dumping the water, so I did have to flip it over to refill for a second and then go back to empty for the water to fully drain from the ultrasonic tank. And it sounds like we're just about up to full speed on the drying process, and I guess we will end this here. Very nice upgrade, very happy with it, and hopefully it will last at least as long as the original did. Take care.